This is Neo Planet S. Not the latter edition, but pretty much the same, all in all. And our CJ Entis player, his name is herO, and he is spawning in the... I didn't quite catch it.
Top right.
Top right? All right, cool.
His opponent on the opposite side, bottom left of Neo Planet S. He is playing for WOONJIN Stars, and he is trying to prove himself to the coach, saying that he could be one of the A-teamers in WOONJIN Stars. His name is Aria.
Aria, he reminds me a little bit of Jaedong because they both have that like death stare when they play. You can just see it in their eyes. They wanna take a nerd and just rip his spine out of his back.
So herO, he's been doing really well in Pro League, 8 wins in a row, and he got into a 3-game losing streak.
So unfortunately for him, this is his chance really to get back on the horse, because Aria, he is a newer player. He hasn't had much games, so you know, maybe he's a solid player, but this is actually you know, a good target for him to really start to beat down, to regain his composure from.
And he still has no pressure. They still have Soulkey, who's ready to play in the next game. So even if he loses, his team can still win convincingly. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, they are 3-1 right now. So WOONJIN Stars, of course, you know, they are not too worried. It would really take a big fumble from them to actually lose this entire set, I have to say. And both players opening with the Gateway and double gas build. A very, very standard, overall solid style, I would have to say. Allows you to get a lot of gas early on. That's really good for those tech plays.
Oh yeah, and you could also decide your tech depending on what your opponent's going to go for. Now, it's harder to scout your opponent in PvP because once you get the stalker out, the probe cannot get inside the main base. And we've been talking about this a little bit about the PvP, and sometimes it feels the build orders decide the match really heavily. Sometimes you could try to come back from it with the micro, but most of the times there's always the build order that decides the game.
Well, the build orders do play a big part, but oftentimes if a player's skill level is high enough, that can certainly circumvent a lot of that. Just, I think it's less about the build orders and more of just there's so many different viable openings. You know, there's so many different good things you can do, and you can only account for so many.
Oh yeah, and if you can actually, you know, account for every single one of them, then you're gonna be a PvP god. But it's almost impossible these days to account for everything.
You have to have like the star sense, okay,
the flash level understanding as a Pro League player.
Exactly. And it looks like Aria doing a little bit of annoying probe harassment on the mineral lines here, and he's gonna eventually get out of there now with the Zealot completed from herO. Should be able to eventually chase that probe out of the base. Both players following this up with a sentry as well.
Going to be a little more defensive earlier in the game. Seems like that's their plan. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them actually goes for the fast Nexus, to be quite honest.
I actually think both players have a good chance of going for the fast Nexus. We see a second sentry being built by Aria, so I would not be surprised to see him move into a fast expand kind of build. We have a Stargate, though, being made from herO.
Both of these players are
actually
going for the Stargate, so they wanted to make sure that the 3-gate pressure cannot kill them before the Stargate units start coming out.
Yeah. Well, I guess you either get the expansion or you go for the Stargate. I have to say, though, that you generally don't see the double sentry as much before the Stargate as you did in Wings Liberty.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to waste that many sentries in this matchup anymore, because most players, when they ladder, they try to go for the tech units rather than trying to go for the pressure. And it's much easier to deny the pressure because of the mothership core, so there's no reason to get that many force fields out. You know, just get 1 or maybe 2 if you have the sentry early on in the game. And with the Nexus Cannon and with additional units, you can deflect the attack really easily.
Yes. We have an expansion going down for herO here, so he's going to be going for that. Oracle on the way for WOONJIN Stars player, but a Phoenix on the way for herO as well, so he's going to be able to deflect this attack quite easily. Nexus going down for both players now, so it looks like we're going to see a just a macro game, and I think both players are going to move into the air composition. But look at how smart this is, using the Phoenix to scout and see what his opponent's building out of the Stargate, and that will essentially keep him safe from wasting the Oracle, essentially.
And same thing for herO. He has a hallucinating Phoenix. Both players going for that. But now, herO's going to have a complete advantage when it comes to the air because he started the Phoenix production earlier than his opponent. He scouts what his opponent is doing. So as long as the Oracle doesn't do that much damage, he'll be completely fine.
Yeah, but you know, we're not seeing any Phoenix, strangely, from Aria here. Maybe he has something planned with a lot of gateways.
Maybe fast Archon?
could be fast Archon. We haven't seen any Twilight Council
Yeah.
done yet, but you know, these Phoenix, if you get behind in the Phoenix Wars, then it can be very, very difficult to deal with them. So I am curious to see if he's going to try to make more Phoenix here, or if he's just going to not make any at all.
Yeah, the only answer is actually going for the Archons at this point, unless you're banking on the fact that your opponent is not going to build any, your opponent's not going to attack until you get to mass Void Ray count.
Yeah. So interesting. I'm not entirely sure what Aria plans here. Well, he's going for the Twilight Council, so I guess maybe he could either go for the Blink or the Archon tech.
DTs into Dark Archon. That's a possibility.
Dark Archons?
Excuse me. DTs into Archons. That's a possibility.
I wish, man. I wish we had Dark Archons in StarCraft too. That was my favorite unit from Brood War.
Well, he's getting a Blink now, so he's going to be trying to defend against the Phoenix with the Stalkers himself. So he's not going to try to commit to the Phoenix Wars because that would have been suicidal at this point.
I mean, maybe he could have been behind by 1 or 2 Phoenix if he immediately got on the Phoenix production when he saw his opponent's Phoenix, but opting instead to go for the Blink, well, I guess the Blink's all right because, you still have a small timing window where you can potentially do a lot of damage with the Phoenix, with the Blink Stalkers, but once that Phoenix count gets ridiculously high, that's when things start to get dicey.
And that's why Aria needs to get ridiculously high on the Stalker count before he starts getting other tech out to defend against the Phoenix.
Yeah, I do have to commend both players for just, constantly scouting with these hallucinated Phoenixes, though. It's really smart for them to do since neither players have the Robo and they can't use their Observer.
You know what's one thing that I noticed? herO thinks it's going to be a Phoenix versus Phoenix war. He's getting a second Stargate, and look at this, putting the Phoenix out of position. But the next cannon goes down, and the Oracle doing as much as possible, but only 4 kills, so not justified.
Yeah, so, I mean, at least he gets the Revelation off before that Observer dies, or Oracle dies there, but I feel like it was maybe a little bit wasted.
It was a little bit wasted, and he's making a... Okay, it's actually herO making an Oracle after seeing that there's no Phoenix from his opponent.
Yeah.
I really like this play. I mean, herO was expecting the second Stargate, but Aria is not going to go for the Phoenix. Instead, he's going to go for more gateway heavy army, and going to tech into Archons later. So herO was expecting some kind of the Phoenix air battle, but it's not going to happen. So I would like to see him make Void Rays, and here we go.
The Void Rays are being made. herO realizing that he has that air superiority, so he's going to go ahead and go into that tech here. Really no reason not to if you have the air dominance.
No, I'm just wondering why Aria actually did not make any DTs. It's really cost efficient to go for it. It's only 100 and 150, but it seems like he's going to go into Templars because it's a little bit later in the game. And the Oracle that herO actually made before, he could try to use it for harassment, but I feel like it's better to leave it back at home because he doesn't know if his opponent actually went for the DTs or not, so he needs some detection.
Well, I mean, another thing I want to point out is that both players have been using the Hallucinated Phoenix, the Scout, pretty efficiently throughout the game.
Oh, that's quite true.
And I think that may be a big reason why we're not seeing any Dark Templar play from Aria.
2 Void Rays coming out at the same time, and nice blink, and seems like Aria just wants to get really gateway heavy army at this point. The Oracle still sitting inside the main base just to make sure that the DTs do not do a lot of damage, but as time goes on, herO's going to have Sky Toss, and that's going to be really scary against the Ground Army.
We have Psionic Storm being researched from Aria here.
So last time when this happened, it was JYP against, who was the opponent? I forgot.
Sorry, it's escaping my brain right now. But
escaping both of our brains, but what happened is that JYP actually didn't micro against the Storms at all. So let's see what happens if a Protoss player actually, micros well against the Storms. Now, herO, since he's getting up to 3 Stargates, he needs to take an extra expansion pretty soon. If not, he will not have an economy to support the 3 Stargates.
Indeed, getting those 3 Stargates up. Also researching the +1 attack. They're actually not going for the 3rd base quite yet, but should be going for it pretty soon here. Aria grabbing his 3rd base now and getting a Robo as well. Really just getting a lot of upgrades at this point, and those High Templar, they are a little bit undefended there, so he has to be very careful against those Phoenixes.
That is quite true. Now +1 air halfway done, and both players going for the 3rd Nexus. And yeah, I really like that herO's just going for the Void Ray after realizing that it wasn't going to be a Phoenix Wars, because the Phoenixes, yes, they're great against some of the great ground armies, but mass Phoenixes are only viable if it's a Phoenix versus Phoenix.
Yeah. They can be quite useful for, you know, harassing mineral lines and stuff, but we already see Aria, he has a nice unit composition to deal with that. He's got the Blink Stalkers, he has the High Templar, he can use feedback or even storm in certain scenarios, and even has an Archon there as well, so he should be, you know, in a pretty good position.
Yeah, well, he also needs to push out. He should hit 200 much before his opponent, and that's gonna be the timing when he pushes out. That's when before herO actually has 200 army with the air, and that's when he needs to do some critical damage. If not, then herO can actually win the game easily.
Yeah, all right, we have some Phoenix harassment going here, picking up a lot of those probes, doing a good amount of economic damage there. Only losing one Phoenix there, I believe, so killing 10 probes actually not bad at all.
Yeah, and those Phoenixes are not going to come into a huge play pretty soon because they're just going to be paper planes.
I like that, paper planes. The Void Rays are going to be a different story here, though, because there's a lot of them out already. And with the charge ability on the Void Rays, they become, you know, pretty much, they are glass cannons, essentially.
Oh, man, those are fantastic against the Protoss army. Now, this is, you know, I'm surprised that there's actually a lot of Zealots mixed in this army.
I guess he just wants to make sure that he dominates the ground army and is going to rely on the Psionic Storms. And I guess the Stalker and Archon support to really deal with the Void Rays there, but he also has to deal with the Phoenix. That's another thing that he hasn't really taken into account for, and he's going to have to waste a lot of feedbacks or focus fire to bring them down.
No, but I'm still surprised that the Zealots are there because, yes, he can dominate the ground, but if you lose the air battle, then that's the whole story. If you lose the air battle, then you lose the whole game. So now, Aria knows that he can't just allow herO to take 3 bases. He's slowly pushing out on the map. Really cute trick by Aria, using the Hallucinated Zealot to push out before, you know, just to poke out, and then wasting the Phoenix energy on those Hallucinated Zealots.
That's all right, so Aria gearing up to go for an attack here, making a lot of proxy pylons, warping in loads of units here, but that is a scary amount of Void Rays. There are 15 out already, and I'm not sure if there's enough anti-air from our WOONJIN Stars Aria player to deal with this, but we're going to find out very shortly here. I think a lot of it will depend on how effective the storms are.
Yeah, he needs to, like I said, this is like the PBZ situation where you need to start slowly eating away. Like, even if you lose the battle, if you kill a lot of Void Rays, that is, you know, that's a lot of damage done to the Protoss player, and this is not the angle that Aria wants to find him because there's not much ground under the Void Rays. So Void Rays can actually dodge so many storms and dodge the blink from his opponent.
Yeah, all right, so it looks like we're having a bit of a skirmish here. A lot of Archons are being added into this unit composition here, so they're definitely going to be very deadly now, and
this is actually a scary-looking army.
This is a very scary-looking army.
herO needs to position everything perfectly. He's waiting for the +1 to finish so that he actually has some extra buff while going for the attack, but he also knows that if he gets out on the open field, he'll get eaten up alive.
All right, Aria deciding to move in here. Will he get the good storms that he requires down? Lots of those High Templars getting picked up. That's actually humongous, but will it even matter? This third Nexus looks like it's going to go down almost immediately. Stalker's blinking forward there, but the Void Rays are completely demolishing them. CJ herO, he may lose this Nexus, but there's nothing left for Aria's army.
Now the battle is between the reinforcements. Can he actually make enough Archons and enough Stalkers back at home to defend against this army? Did he actually make few Templars back at home to save up the energy for the storms? Did he account this far into the game? If not, then herO can actually win the game.
I don't think so. It looks like Aria has completely underestimated the power of the Phoenix lifting up those High Templar. That completely changed the game around. Essentially, this army attacked without any storms whatsoever, and now with this humongous Void Ray count, 22 on the field, what are the Zealots going to do? They're not going to do anything against this army, and they're essentially just sitting ducks.
Like I said, I didn't agree with the Zealots because during this time, like I said, Zealots cannot attack air. I mean, the Zealots can try to grab each other and try to throw them in the air, trying to suicide into the Void Rays, but it's not going to be enough, even if the Zealots can suicide.
Void Rays charged up. They're going to be able to decimate this third base almost instantly here. Probe line absolutely getting obliterated here. You can see herO starting to get very excited, shaking a little bit in his seat as well. We have a big Zealot counterattack here, but that's not even going to matter. There are reinforcement Void Rays from Aria as well as a few ground units. The Nexus goes down as well. It looks like CJ is going to be able to pull a win here against WOONJIN Stars and get it to at least a 3-2.
Amazing recall by herO. Just shows how confident he is in this game and shows how much he's far ahead into the game. He could even lose the Nexus right now and he could still win the game.
Well, he could just base race and win. I
Yeah.
mean, 25 Void Rays against 4 Stalkers. What? That's nothing, and that's going to be it. GG. Called out by Aria. It looks like in the end, Void Rays are king, especially with some Phoenix support to lift up those pesky High Templar.
Yeah, I really didn't agree with the number of Zealots. Yes, it did take down the third Nexus really quick, but the emphasis that we had throughout the whole game, you need to take out the army, and the Zealots cannot do it.
Yeah, the Zealots, they were nice, they were upgraded, and they were deadly, but in the end, they don't attack air units, man. Zealots actually, they can try to reach the Void Rays, but they can't necessarily get that far up in the air. I guess if you lifted up a Zealot with a Phoenix, it could technically attack the Void Ray if it was like right next to it, but
That would be really cool addition to the game, actually.
all the cool things seem to happen with the Phoenix lifting ability. Currently, the score is 2-3. WOONJIN Stars still leading by 1 point.